Hello, everyone. I am Horse Von Hay. I am no longer known as the peasant horsing around of the past. I will now be a very fancy and gentlemanly tune. Today, I will show you how to be very fancy and how to train your fanciness in a vice president. If you want to be fancy like me, always introduce yourself when you go to the vice president. Now let's take a look at who is inside. It looks like the peasants have shown up late. Now, this is a good way to tell if they are peasants in your vice president, if no one shows up, or if they are late. Now, one thing you can do is if you are the first person to arrive, you can introduce yourself one by one to the peasants. Now, always make it known that you are the superior tune. Hello, I am pleased to meet you tune, you. It is very nice to meet peasants. Now, one thing that we need to be aware of is when you are fancy, everyone is below you who isn't fancy. Now, this is not very good. Being late is not very good. And 3, 2, join. Why are they late? Why are they late? I have no idea why these tunes could have been late. That is not very good to be late. That is not very fancy. I don't know why they're laughing. Now let's check their gags. Now this is a pretty good peasant. What about this? This is a bad peasant. This is a really bad peasant. Wow. Oh no, oh wow. Wow. You have the gags of a peasant. It is always good to make yourself known. Wow, this person does too. Wow, wow. You have the gags of a peasant. Alright, let's see here. Oh, this is good gags. Now, be aware that just because you have good gags, that does not mean that you are necessarily fancy. That just means that you do not have gags of a peasant. So you can still have good gags like these people, but still be a peasant. This person going BRB in the lobby or anywhere is a lot like a peasant. Many people who are ultra peasants go BRB, so be on the lookout. Wow. Wow. Your gags are like a peasant's. Look at these gags. These are terrible. It is a pleasure to meet you, peasant. They do not understand? What don't you understand? I am not sure what this dog is confused about. It is very strange. I sometimes do not know how to speak the language of a peasant, for I am not a peasant. So if I do not understand these non-fancy tunes, please forgive me. Is everything all right, peasant? I will remake the group. The Toon HQ group? Okay. I am glad you know your place. It is always good for the elites to be aware that they are above the peasants. But one thing every elite must know, and every person who is fancy must know, is that they are here to carry the peasants, and they are here to be better than said peasants. Now, if I wasn't making this video guide, I would have left by now, because these people are taking way too long, and it is not very good for someone as fancy as me to be waiting very long, because this waiting makes me feel like a peasant. What? What? I have no idea what you mean. Are you actually fancy? Because your gags are definitely not. That would be a surprise. Usually, I'm pretty good at telling who's fancy and who's not. But even I can be wrong from time to time. Oh my gosh! Why is your tune-up like a peasant's? That is very upsetting. Now, when someone insults you like this dog just did, you have full right to kick them from the boarding group, but sometimes doing this will make the peasants very, very upset. So only do this at the very end, right when you push the go button. Another thing you should always be aware of is never give any jelly beans to the peasants. Now this is a very good, this tune has very good gags. So now, I shall kick the peasant from the boarding group. Now the peasant is gone. Oh no! Oh no, it looks like we went. That's not good. That's what happens when you are a peasant. Anyways, hello and welcome, everyone. I hope we have a very good time. Fancy time. Alright. So it is very good. Now, one thing about this game is you can usually tell, the game can usually tell who's fancy and who's not. As you can see, the game recognized my fanciness and put me on the side with 4 peasants. Excuse me, I sometimes get that wrong. He created another group. Wow, how fancy of him. Just like the peasant he is. Alright, now, if you would like to level up your fanciness, there's a few things you need to do. The first rule is never listen to the peasants. Do not do anything that they tell you to. There's also this secret thing in Toontown, where Healing people who do not need it will increase your fanciness because it's extremely wasteful and inefficient. They understand fanciness. So this is why they added this into the game. Also, when your gags miss, your fanciness will go down. So be aware of that. It is advised in the second round to stay as far away to the peasants as you possibly can. You do not want them getting their peasantness on you. It could ruin your fancy training. I'm trying to see how far I can get away from them. You could also go up here to get away from the peasants. Over here is also a good option. Down here, alright, let's see what peasants we're with next. These look about the same as the previous peasants. I think this peasant is different though. Another thing you can do is you can wake up the robots. The robot machines. Oh, this is another good thing you can do. You can ruin the peasants' trap. That increases your fanciness by quite a bit. Thank you. I just gained many fancy points for that. Alright, another thing you can do to mess with the peasants is you can pretend to heal them. Now you have to do this correctly. The game will tell after you've pulled off if you did that. Oh no! It looks like I just lost some fancy points because my gag just missed. That is not good. But that is fine, because I got a lot of fancy points for using the trap on the train. Alright. Oh, I also did get fancy points for... what was that? Oh, for backing off the healing gag. So let's get some more fancy points. What? I need more fancy points. It is not good. Please. I am training here. Please do not use high gags, peasant. That should have got a lot of fancy points. I am not sure what the other side is doing. They are taking a really, really long time. Please, do not use that. This is very, very upsetting for me. What could that be? Is that Cog's miss? Please. I want to train. Why won't you let me train my fanciness? These tunes are losing a lot of fancy points from missing so often. Well, that was a pretty bad cog battle, because the tunes did not let me train my fanciness. Now, during the final fight, you want to stay as far away from the peasants as possible. Also, you do not want to fight the vice president at all. You want to stand all the way over here. You do not want them to make you lose your fancy points that you have gained and that you have worked so hard to get. Now, as you can see, the online game is telling you to jump up to touch the cage to get pies. This is usually how peasants defeat the vice president, but because I am fancy, I will not be doing as such, because it subtracts fancy points. When we were all peasants, we used to fight the vice president the way that we view the peasants right now. Wow! Did you know that a peasant used to... Or wait, my bad. I misspoke. There used to be a glitch that all the tunes would get hurt if someone ran in to the vice president while he was jumping. But it seems like that has been patched. I bet some peasant made a mistake in the code. Oh wow, look at that glitch. A peasant must have coded that. Thank you. I got many fancy points.